We go back to the World Wide Web for this. Aaron Portzline, The Athletic. Yegor Chinakov requesting a trade, citing misunderstandings with Blue Jackets coach Dean Evason. GM Don Waddell said Chinakov, quote-unquote, couldn't handle being a healthy scratch after he returned from a back injury last spring. Here are the numbers, year by year. A Jacket for some time now, and he missed 109 games over span with injuries. When this much comes out, typically, ideally, this would come out after the transaction. But us knowing that this is definitely headed for a divorce, what's your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, the player certainly doesn't seem happy and wants out. I mean, that's very clear and evident here. I do think that there's times where players maybe need to have a new look, but maybe the team does too, and part in ways. I mean, this is a team where Dean Evason's gone in there and they've created a culture of working hard and playing a certain way. And I'm not sure that Chinakov brings those attributes. So is that in there? Is that part of his DNA? I don't know. We'll have to see. But maybe it's best that he gets an opportunity elsewhere, and we'll see what happens.
You know, you mentioned culture, but I'll expound on culture in a different way. A North American player going through a similar circumstance, you know, you get sad after you're coming back from an injury and maybe your play has been subpar. A North American player will tend to kind of reflect on that, respond to that, and come back with a renewed attitude, a more steeled attitude. I've played with a lot of Russian players, and this is just a cultural contrast that I'm making. It's harder for a Russian player to kind of take the lesson in the same way that a North American player does. So when that happens, and you've got Dean Evason, I mean, he's a WHL graduate, he's a Western Canadian guy growing up. It's a different approach altogether, and it's kind of my way or the highway to some degree. So you've got, again, what I'll call more a cultural clash as much as anything. And for Chinakov, rather than address that, try to sort that through in that environment. His preference is to do it somewhere else.
You also, this is where, and it's just the nature and the reality of it. You have the KHL as an option.
Right.
So a lot of times it's, hey, I'm not going to do this because I can go there. I can always go there.
Sure.
And sometimes you got equity in these with using high picks and whatever the circumstances are with some of the players. So sometimes that makes it a little bit sticky too, because if you're a North American kid, quite frankly, I want to play in this league. This is it. That's really kind of the only other option, but the Russian players do have other options.
And you talk to general managers in our league, there are ebbs and flows in this area. It is the reason that you're sometimes reluctant, or how should I say, cautious about selecting a Russian player in the draft. Again, options and those cultural differences.